Hello, welcome back to the first SEM English language course. I'm Dr. Vidya Patil and I'm going to be the teacher for this course. You have already learned that the language skills can be classified into two types, that is, the receptive skills and the productive skills. In the first unit, we are trying to understand the different aspects of receptive skills. In today's video, we will try to understand what is the difference between listening and hearing. Listening, as you know, is one of the major receptive skills. Attentive listening is as important as effective speaking in order to communicate efficiently. Now, when we talk about listening, there is another word which we often use, that is hearing. So, what is listening and what is hearing, and what is the basic difference between listening and hearing? These are the various topics which we will be discussing in today's video. There is a common saying that hearing is through the ears and listening is through the mind. This makes it quite evident that there is a lot of difference between the two activities. Listening and hearing, both these activities require to make use of the ears, but the process is completely different. Hearing is nothing but a sense which helps us to receive sounds. It is a way of perceiving sounds using the ear. Hearing is nothing but a natural ability or an inborn trait which allows us to recognize sounds through our ears by catching the different sound vibrations, and this entire process is known as hearing. In simple terms, it is one of the 5 major senses, and it makes us aware of the various sounds which are occurring or which can be heard around us. Hearing is an involuntary process where a person continuously receives sound vibrations. A normal human being has a hearing capability from 20 to 20,000 hertz. Any frequency which is above or below this frequency is known as ultrasonic or infrasonic. That is, any frequency which is more than 20,000 hertz is known as ultrasonic, and any frequency which is less than 20 hertz is known as infrasonic. So, generally, human beings can hear sound waves of frequency from 20 to 20,000 hertz. Listening is defined as a skill in which we can receive sounds through ears and then transform them into meaningful messages. In simple words, it can be said that listening is the process of hearing and interpreting the meaning of the sounds, words, sentences which are spoken by the speaker during a conversation. In listening, we receive the sound waves, and by paying full attention to them, we try to understand what is the meaning of this sound. So, during listening, the receiver has to pay full attention to the speaker and then try to interpret and understand the meanings of the words and sentences which have been spoken by the speaker. It is the ability to correctly receive and interpret the message which has been transferred during the communication process. Let us now try and compare the two different activities, that is hearing and listening. Now, first of all, when we try to understand the meaning of these two activities, we can very clearly see that hearing refers to one's ability to perceive sounds by receiving vibrations through ears. That is, hearing is nothing but receiving sounds through the ears. On the other hand, listening is something which is done consciously and which involves the analysis and understanding of the sounds which we hear. That is, in the process of listening, we are not just receiving sounds, but we are trying to understand and analyze these sounds. Next, when we try to understand what exactly are these two activities, we can see that hearing is an ability, whereas listening is a skill. Also, hearing, or the nature of hearing, is that it is primary and continuous. That is, you continuously go on hearing the various sounds which reach your ears. On the other hand, listening is a secondary activity and temporary in nature. Hearing is a physiological act, whereas listening is a psychological act. That is, during hearing, it is only the biological process which is taking place, whereas during listening, it is the mind also which is involved in the process. Next, we can see that hearing involves receipt of message through the ears, whereas listening involves interpretation of the message which has been received by the ears. So, in the process of hearing, we are only receiving a message, but in the process of listening, we are trying to analyze, understand, and interpret the message which we have received by our ears. Next, we can see that hearing is a passive bodily process, whereas listening is an active mental process. That is, during hearing, it is basically a passive activity which happens involuntarily. But listening is an active activity where your mental processes need to be very much alert and efficient. Hearing occurs at a subconscious level, whereas listening occurs on a very conscious level. That is, hearing is basically an involuntary activity where you're not really aware, or you don't have to focus on the activity. It happens without your knowledge. But for listening, you are very, very conscious about this activity and you are focused on what you are trying to do. During hearing, there is use of only one sense, whereas during listening, we are employing more than one senses. The main reason for hearing is that actually we are not really aware, or we do not have any control over the sounds which we hear. So, it usually takes place without our knowledge. Whereas, when we talk about listening, we listen in order to acquire knowledge and receive information. During hearing, concentration is not at all required, whereas during listening, you have to be very focused and concentrate on the given activity. Today, we have understood what is hearing and what is listening. So, we now know that hearing is an involuntary process where you do not need to concentrate and where you are receiving sounds through your ears. On the other hand, listening is a voluntary process where you need to focus and concentrate on the activity, and where during this process, you are actually trying to analyze, interpret, and understand the sounds which you have received through your ears. I think you have now realized that both listening and hearing are activities which are basically very different from each other. In the next video, we will try to understand what are the benefits of listening, especially listening attentively. So, I hope you liked this video. Thank you.